Caesar Augustus was emperor of Rome. Quirinius was governor of Syria. Luke also tells us that we are talking about the first enrollment, not the second or the third. These details are designed to put this event solidly in a historical context. But why does Luke go to such lengths to make this birth seem real? It's not just to help us some 2,000 years later to believe that this story is true. Luke was trying to convince the people of his own time as well. You would think that the Jewish people wouldn't have needed much convincing that they were waiting for the Messiah and that that Messiah had come. They were being oppressed by Rome and were desperate for any relief. But look at the angel's message to the shepherds. The angel tells the shepherds that the Messiah has been born in Bethlehem, like the tradition said he would be. But the angel clarifies that the Messiah was wrapped in swaddling clothes and lying in a manger. And the angel says, "This will be a sign for you." How are those simple clothes and that simple shelter a sign? Isaiah tells us more about the Messiah that the Jewish people were expecting. They were expecting someone who would lead them into the light, who would bring great joy and set them free. Their Messiah would bring victory in battle and would be called Wonder Counselor, God Hero, Father Forever, Prince of Peace. They were expecting the greatest king the world had ever known. The Messiah was supposed to be a king. As a king, he was supposed to make people rich and lead people to much prosperity. Isaiah says today, the people will make merry when dividing the spoils. But Jesus is the son of a poor carpenter. And as if that wasn't poor enough, when he sets out into the world, he takes nothing with him, relying completely on the generosity of others. He is a king without possessions. He is also supposed to be a wise and a just ruler. Yet, his only formal training was in carpentry. This would have been suspicious enough. How could this man be the Messiah? But Jesus was not just some prophet or king. He is God, the second person of the Trinity. And as God, he should be all-powerful, all-knowing, and eternal. But a little over 3 months from now, we will commemorate the death of Jesus on a cross. In the end, he was a God who died. Do you see why the shepherds might have needed a little guidance to come to the conclusion that this baby in an animal trough could be that Messiah? But the angels pointed to Jesus in the manger as the Messiah, not just despite his unexpected appearance, but in and through that unexpected appearance. The world cannot make sense of Jesus. He had no earthly strength, no army, yet Herod tried to kill him, and the Pharisees and Pilate would one day fear him. He didn't have the measures of earthly wisdom, yet some of the most educated people of his day would call him teacher. And he didn't appear victorious in his life. He preached for 3 years and then was arrested and killed as his followers were in hiding. But those same followers would scatter to the corners of the world proclaiming that he was in fact victorious. And despite the fact that they were too scared to watch him die, they were then all willing to die themselves for that belief. Unless we relegate those paradoxes to the distant past, we can still see them at work today. Joseph Stalin, the leader of the Soviet Union, famously said, "How many divisions does the Pope of Rome have?" A generation later, Pope St. John Paul II would become one of the most instrumental figures in the downfall of the oppressive Soviet regime, with around 100 men under his command, if you count the Swiss Guard. In the early 1800s, a young French man studying to be a priest struggled so much with his academics that everyone was convinced that even if he somehow passed, he would be a terrible priest. St. John Vianney was not only ordained a priest, but his sermons would keep people captivated for hours on end. Today, he is the patron saint of all priests. And in 1981, Father Stanley Rother, an American priest, was martyred in his rectory in Guatemala during their civil war. The parish where he was stationed was founded in 1547, and in its over 400 years had not produced a single priestly vocation. After Blessed Stanley Rother's martyrdom, 9 priests have been ordained from that parish, with more on the way, and the parish continues to thrive. Christmas is a great reminder that while human strength will fail, human wisdom will make mistakes, and human victory is never assured, there is another way. God's strength will not fail us. God's wisdom will not mislead us, and God's victory will never be insufficient. While the plans of God might seem as confusing and paradoxical as finding a king in a manger, time and again they have proved triumphant. We are the people in darkness who have seen the great light. And now the question is, what will we do? We have seen the light, and we are even moved by the light, filled with the Christmas spirit. But when the season is over, and when the decorations are put away, will we again put our faith in the things of the world? Or will we, as Christ entered the world, allow him to enter our hearts and transform us, not just as at Christmas, but throughout the entire year and throughout our lives?